The vast emptiness of space stretched before the USS Horizon, a sleek human exploration vessel cutting through the darkness like a silver arrow. Captain Ji-hoon Park sat in his command chair, his fingers slowly tracing the holographic display that flickered with incoming signals. Something was different today. The communication system crackled, then burst into life with a series of fragmented transmissions. At first it seemed like random noise, a jumble of electromagnetic pulses that would normally be ignored. But Ji-hoon's experienced eyes caught something unusual. Between the static, there were patterns. Deliberate patterns. "Clean up that signal," he ordered his communications officer, Sarah Kim. Sarah's fingers danced across her console, filtering and adjusting the incoming transmission. Slowly, the chaos transformed into a coherent message. It wasn't human. It wasn't even close to any known communication protocol in their database. The message was a cry for help. Holographic images began to materialize in the central display. Delicate beings with translucent skin and large, frightened eyes appeared. They were small, almost fragile-looking creatures with intricate crystalline technology surrounding them. But something was terribly wrong. Explosions erupted in the background of their transmission, and panic was evident in their movements. "Sir," Sarah whispered, "they're under attack." The beings, which the ship's computer soon identified as the Vortal species, were being systematically destroyed. Their planetary defenses were crumbling, their technological infrastructure being torn apart by an unknown aggressive force. The transmission showed massive ships with sharp predatory designs moving like sharks through the Vortal's defensive networks. Ji-hoon leaned forward. This wasn't a standard distress call. This was a last desperate attempt to survive. "Track the origin," he commanded. The ship's advanced navigation systems began calculating the signal's source, triangulating its precise location across thousands of light years. What made this transmission strange was its trajectory. It seemed to have been sent randomly, almost accidentally, as if the Vortal were so desperate that they were broadcasting in all directions, hoping someone, anyone, would hear their plea. The ship's artificial intelligence began analyzing the transmission's technical details. The signal had traveled through multiple star systems, degrading slightly with each jump. It was a miracle it had reached human space at all. Most species would have missed it entirely. But humans were different. Trained on Earth, a planet so harsh that it had bred a species capable of surviving in environments that would kill most other life forms, human explorers were always listening, always watching, always prepared. Ji-hoon studied the images of destruction. The attacking ships were sleek, designed for total annihilation. Their technology suggested a species that understood only conquest. No diplomacy, no negotiation. Pure elimination. "We're going to respond," Ji-hoon said quietly. The bridge crew looked at him. They knew what that meant. A human response wasn't just a rescue mission. It was a commitment to total protection. Sarah's fingers moved across her console, preparing communication protocols. The ship's weapon systems hummed softly, not yet activated but ready. Defensive shields began charging, a subtle blue energy building around the USS Horizon's hull. The Vortal transmission continued to play. More explosions, more desperate communications, glimpses of a civilization about to be erased from existence, but they didn't know they had accidentally sent their signal to humanity. And humanity was about to change everything. Ji-hoon Park allowed himself a small, determined smile. Whatever was attacking the Vortal had just made a critical mistake. They had no idea what was coming. The USS Horizon adjusted its course, massive engines preparing to jump into faster-than-light travel. A rescue mission was about to become something far more significant. First contact, last stand, the beginning of a story that would echo through galactic history. The ship moved. Space itself seemed to bend around its advanced technology, and in that moment, the fate of two civilizations hung in perfect, breathless balance. The USS Horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel like a phantom emerging from darkness. Space around them was a graveyard of broken technology and floating debris. Lieutenant Yuna Kim's first scan revealed a nightmare of destruction. Vortal. Planetary systems looked like shattered glass. Massive craters marked entire continents. Burning spacecraft drifted silently. Their once intricate designs now twisted metal corpses. Radiation levels were catastrophic. Nothing should have survived. "Scanning for life signs," Yuna announced, her voice steady despite the horrific scene. The ship's advanced sensors probed through layers of destruction. At first, nothing. Then a faint signal. Weak. Almost gone. But definitely alive. "Captain." Ji-hoon approached the main display, his eyes calculating every detail. The attacking force, which their preliminary scans identified as the Krell, had been thorough. They didn't just want to defeat the Vortal, they wanted to erase them completely. A small crystalline structure caught Yuna's attention. Hidden beneath layers of protective rock, something was broadcasting a survival signal. It was a Vortal emergency shelter. "Preparing rescue protocols," she said. The Horizon's advanced retrieval systems activated. Precision laser cutters began carefully removing layers of rock and metal. Each movement was calculated, designed to minimize potential damage to whatever might be inside. Hours passed. Tension filled the bridge. Each crew member understood the stakes. This wasn't just a rescue mission. This was first contact with a civilization on the brink of total extinction. When the shelter's outer shell finally opened, nobody expected what they found. 13 Vortal survivors, small creatures, no taller than a human child. Their translucent skin showed intricate internal structures, biological systems more complex than any human had ever seen. They were huddled together, technological medical devices keeping them alive. The youngest was a small creature with large, intelligent eyes. It looked directly at the human rescue team without fear. Something in that gaze suggested these were not helpless victims. They were survivors. "Medical team, prepare quarantine protocols," Ji-hoon ordered. The survivors were carefully transported to the Horizon's medical bay. Advanced human medical technology began analyzing their physical condition. Each scan revealed something extraordinary. Despite the total destruction around them, these Vortal had managed to preserve their most important resource, knowledge. 1. Of the elder Vortal, a scientist with intricate crystal-like markings began communicating. Their language was complex, but the ship's translation systems quickly adapted. "We did not expect survivors," Yuna said softly. The Vortal scientist explained their civilization's final moments. The Krell attack had been sudden, brutal, and mathematically precise. They had been targeted not just for destruction, but for total elimination. "Why?" Ji-hoon asked. The answer was complex. The Krell saw the Vortal's advanced technological knowledge as a threat. Their peaceful scientific culture was considered dangerous. The only solution in the Krell's perspective was complete annihilation, but they hadn't counted on a random distress signal reaching human space. As medical treatments continued, the Vortal survivors began sharing critical information: star charts, technology designs, weapon specifications of their attackers. They were preparing, even in their weakened state, to help their potential rescuers understand the threat. Yuna realized something important. These weren't just survivors. They were the last repository of an entire civilization's knowledge. The ship's AI began processing the massive amount of information: weapon designs, planetary defense strategies, communication protocols. The Vortal had documented everything, hoping someone would find their records. Outside the medical bay, the vast emptiness of space remained silent. Destroyed Vortal ships continued their endless drift. But inside the USS Horizon, something remarkable was happening. A new alliance was being born. Not through diplomatic meetings or careful negotiations, but through survival. Through the shared understanding that some threats are so massive, so total, that traditional boundaries between species become meaningless. The youngest Vortal looked up at the human medical team. In its eyes there was no fear, only a burning curiosity, and the beginning of hope. Their massive battleships moved through space like predatory sharks, confident in their previous victories. They had destroyed the Vortal civilization without losing a single vessel. Their computational war strategies had been perfect, mathematically precise, absolutely ruthless. But they didn't understand human warfare. Lieutenant Yuna Kim studied the Krell fleet's movement patterns. Her fingers danced across holographic displays, analyzing every potential weakness. The ship's artificial intelligence ran thousands of combat scenarios per second, each calculation more complex than the last. They move in rigid formations, she told Captain Jihoon. Predictable, mechanical. The USS Horizon carried something the Krell couldn't comprehend. Unpredictability. Human military doctrine wasn't about perfect execution. It was about adaptation, creativity, turning chaos into advantage. First strike came unexpectedly. The Horizon divided its fleet into smaller, independent units. Each ship acted like a living organism, communicating through encrypted quantum channels. Where traditional military strategies would concentrate force, humans scattered, attacked from impossible angles, disappeared, reappeared. Krell weapon systems designed for direct confrontation found nothing to target. One Krell battleship suddenly erupted in flames, then another. Not through direct weapon impact, but through sophisticated electronic warfare. Human technology didn't just destroy, it confused, disoriented, transformed the entire battlefield into psychological warfare. The Vortal survivors watched in complete amazement. Their scientific recordings captured every human tactical movement. Each strategy was a lesson in survival. Where the Vortal had relied on technological defense, humans turned technology into a weapon of pure psychological manipulation. Swarm tactics replaced traditional fleet movements. Small human vessels moved like a living cloud, overwhelming Krell. Defensive systems, they weren't just fighting. They were rewriting the entire concept of space combat. Captain Jihoon's voice remained calm. Target their communication networks. Precise laser strikes disabled Krell fleet coordination. Suddenly, massive battleships became isolated, confused, unable to communicate or coordinate their massive firepower. The youngest Vortal survivor, a small creature with remarkable intelligence, began analyzing human strategies. Each movement fascinated them. Humans didn't follow rules. They created new ones. One human squadron would intentionally appear vulnerable. When Krell ships moved to attack, another squadron would strike from a completely unexpected direction. It was warfare as performance art. As psychological chess, Krell commanders couldn't understand the strategy. Their computational systems failed to predict human movements. Every calculation returned impossible results. Massive Krell battleships started falling. Not through superior firepower, but through something more dangerous. Human creativity. Electronic warfare packages disabled critical systems. Quantum communication channels were hijacked. Navigation computers suddenly displayed incorrect star maps. Weapon targeting systems went crazy, firing at phantom targets. The battle wasn't just physical. It was an assault on the Krell's fundamental understanding of conflict. Yuna's tactical displays showed something remarkable. Human losses were minimal. Each destroyed human vessel was immediately replaced by another, moving from hidden staging points. The fleet functioned like a living organism, constantly regenerating, constantly adapting. Vortal survivors recorded everything. Their scientific minds recognized they were witnessing something extraordinary, a species that transformed warfare into an art of pure adaptation. Captain Jihoon watched the battle unfold with calm precision. No excitement, no anger, just pure, calculated execution. "We're not just fighting," he told his bridge crew. "We're sending a message." By the battle's end, over 70% of the Krell fleet had been destroyed, not through overwhelming firepower, but through a strategy so fluid, so unexpected, that the Krell computational systems simply collapsed. The survivors would tell stories about this day. about how a random distress signal brought humanity into a conflict, about how an entire aggressive civilization was defeated not through brute force but through something far more dangerous: human creativity. Vortal survivors gathered around Captain Jihoon, their translucent bodies showing complex internal systems that reflected pure curiosity. They wanted to understand the species that had just saved them from total extinction. Humans come from a planet called Earth, Jihoon explained simply, a world that would kill most life forms before breakfast. The youngest Vortal, a small creature with remarkable intelligence, touched a holographic display showing Earth's landscapes: volcanic regions, frozen tundras, dense rainforests, extreme mountain ranges, oceans with crushing depths. Each environment looked more dangerous than the last. "Your planet is impossible," the Vortal scientist remarked. Lieutenant Yuna brought additional visual records: humans climbing impossible mountain peaks, swimming in waters with dangerous predators, walking through deserts where temperatures could cook living tissue, surviving in environments that defied logical explanation. The medical scanners continued, analyzing Vortal physiology. Their bodies were delicate, sophisticated, designed for precise technological environments. Humans were different: robust, adaptable, almost impossible to destroy. Human bone structure showed remarkable density. Muscle systems could regenerate faster than most known species. Their immune systems were like miniature warfare platforms, constantly fighting potential threats. Where other species would collapse, humans adapted. "We don't just survive," Jihoon said. "We transform challenges into opportunities." The Vortal began understanding something profound. Humanity wasn't just a species, it was a continuous adaptation mechanism. Every challenge became a chance to grow stronger. Every potential threat was a learning experience. Biological records showed human evolutionary history: generations fighting climate changes, surviving ice ages, developing complex social structures, creating technology from basic resources, turning limitations into strengths. The youngest Vortal asked a critical question: "Why did you help us?" Jihoon's response was simple: "Because someone needs help." No complex diplomatic explanation, no political strategy, just a fundamental understanding that life has value, that survival matters, that protecting those who cannot protect themselves is a fundamental principle. The medical team demonstrated human medical technology: nanobots that could repair cellular damage, regenerative systems that could heal wounds in hours, technological interventions that transformed medical understanding. Vortal scientists were shocked. Human technology wasn't just advanced, it was revolutionary. One Vortal elder touched a human medical scanner, his translucent fingers trembling. "You don't just heal," he whispered. "You transform." Yuna showed them Earth's biodiversity: thousands of species coexisting, complex ecosystems, environments where life found a way to survive in the most unexpected places. Humans had learned from this continuous dance of survival. The medical bay became a window into human existence. Recordings showed human children playing in environments that would kill most adult aliens, families surviving natural disasters, communities rebuilding after massive destruction, not through superior technology, but through pure determination. "We are not perfect," Jihoon explained. "We are just persistent." The Vortal survivors realized they hadn't just been rescued. They had been introduced to a species that redefined the concept of survival. Where other civilizations saw limitations, humans saw possibilities. The youngest Vortal looked at the human crew with new understanding. These weren't just warriors. They were living examples of continuous adaptation, of turning challenges into opportunities. As star maps displayed their current location, something became clear. This wasn't just a rescue mission. This was the beginning of a new understanding between species. Humanity had entered their story, and nothing would be the same again. The medical bay hummed with possibility, with hope, with the fundamental understanding that life, in all its complex forms, was worth protecting. Vortal scientists worked alongside human engineering teams on a specially constructed orbital station. What remained of their civilization would be rebuilt, not just restored, transformed. Lieutenant Yuna Kim managed the initial reconstruction protocols. Her team understood this wasn't just about rebuilding structures. This was about recreating an entire civilization's potential. The youngest Vortal survivor, a small creature named Kiro, became the primary communication bridge between his species and humans. His remarkable intelligence transformed him into something more than a survivor. He became a diplomat, a bridge between two completely different civilizations. Human technology merged with Vortal scientific knowledge. Where Vortal systems were precise and delicate, human approaches were robust and adaptive. Together, they created something entirely new. Orbital manufacturing centers began producing advanced defensive systems. Not just weapons, but comprehensive protection networks. The Krell had destroyed their civilization once. They would not have a second chance. Captain Jihoon understood the deeper strategy. This wasn't just about protection. This was about creating a new model of interstellar cooperation. Vortal survivors slowly recovered. Their medical treatments combined human aggressive healing techniques with their own sophisticated technological approaches. Each treatment became a learning experience. Each recovery, a small victory. The orbital station became more than a reconstruction site. It became a living symbol of survival. Kiro discovered something fascinating about human culture. Humans didn't just rebuild, they transformed challenges into opportunities. Where other species would collapse after total destruction, humans saw potential communication systems were redesigned. Quantum communication channels developed new encryption methods. The Vortal's delicate technological understanding combined with human adaptive strategies created communication networks that were virtually unbreakable. 1 month after the initial rescue, something remarkable happened. The first new Vortal colony ship began construction. Not a replica of their old designs, but a completely new concept. Human durability merged with Vortal precision. A ship that could survive the harshest space environments while maintaining scientific integrity. Yuna watched the construction with quiet pride. This wasn't just a ship. This was a statement. A declaration that destruction was not the end. It was a beginning. Vortal children, rescued and now recovering, began learning human survival techniques. Physical training programs, adaptive thinking strategies, mental resilience exercises. They were no longer just a scientific species. They were becoming something more. The station's central computer tracked their progress. Each day showed improvement. Each moment demonstrated the power of cooperation. Kiro became something unexpected, not just a survivor but a symbol. He could now speak multiple languages, understand complex strategic concepts. His body, once fragile, now showed signs of enhanced resilience through advanced medical treatments. Jihoon recognized the deeper transformation happening. This wasn't just about saving a species. This was about creating a new model of galactic cooperation. Defensive technologies were shared, not as weapons, but as protective systems. Vortal precision combined with human adaptive strategies created something revolutionary. Protection networks that could defend entire planetary systems. News of their alliance spread. Other galactic civilizations watched carefully. A supposedly weak species had not just survived total destruction. They had transformed that destruction into an opportunity for growth. The orbital station became a beacon, a message to the universe that survival was more than just defending yourself. It was about continuous adaptation, about turning challenges into possibilities. Kiro looked out through the station's massive observation window. Space stretched before him, no longer a place of fear, but a canvas of potential. The Vortal civilization had died, but something new was being born. Not just a civilization, not just an alliance, a new way of understanding survival itself.